Hey, you did need that. You don't know what you need.
The patrons are really getting that.
I mean,
The patrons got horse semen, fatherhood,
like horse cheers.
iron sights, and Glock 26s. Anyway, welcome to the PARAcast. I'm your host, Tomas the Boss Hernandez, joining you from in front of the open bed tent. Anyways, joining me tonight, he's not 50 pounds overweight, so that makes him an American 8 out of 10. It's Robert Wyatt.
Hot damn! Finally, I did something right.
I know. Hey, move your camera down. You're playing What's His Bucket from Home Improvement. Wilson. Yeah. There you go. Okay, that's. Also joining us. The only thing that splits faster than that finger is his high school girlfriends. It's Jared Stepp.
Look, just because they run away now is.
And stay away.
They keep on referring to the age gap as a problem. It's not my fault, okay? I buy them nice things. Why are they mad?
I meant when you were in high school, not when they were in high school.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no.
Oh, nuts.
Oh.
IA's going to be visiting Jared pretty soon.
Cops dating high school women. It's never happened. Not once. Maybe a couple times.
I only know
there was that
3 people who have been fired for that in the past 5 years who are cops.
In his department.
In my department. Oddly, all of their names start with M. I don't know.
Well, and then remember that guy who back in like 2007, that trolley, the trolley mall or whatever shooting.
Oh yeah, the cop who ended up getting arrested for like child exploitation.
He's dating some teenage girl or whatever. How to say? There's a guy who came in and shot up. What is it? Trolley Square? Is that what it's called?
So back forever ago, like some dude came in and shot up Trolley Square because they were an anti-gun mall, and an off-duty officer happened to be there with his wife or something like that, and
he had a Kimber
long enough to
had
stop
like
him.
A commander-sized Kimber,
being kind of a pervert.
Commander-sized Kimber with like 7 rounds. So he held him off, ran out of ammo, and just kind of held it there with an empty gun, so the guy didn't go to that area. And then it turns out, all of a sudden you get your name in the newspaper, then everyone wants to talk shit and tell you how you're
asking questions.
Hey,
who's this guy?
Hey,
just because
I tried to fuck my daughter.
Just because you fall in love with a 16-year-old. Gosh,
that's not allowed.
No, the mom did this. I thought you were dating that other cop. And voted most likely to claim he's not gay, Kevin Isaac.
Hey, Pride Month's over, all right? Knock that off.
That's why you're in hiding, dude. That's your back in the closet, everybody. That's the name.
Back into the bed.
That's the name. Back in the. The name of this episode.
There are mysterious stains there from Tom's delivery days. We don't know what it is, but Gaston Glock sells guns and one other thing, and it's the other thing.
It's the only
50-gallon thing of horse semen. Well, Tommy knows.
Well, do you want me to risk Botox or just do it the all natural way? I'm limited with 2 options. What do you guys want from me? Anyways, went out there, shot with my son. You can check that on the Patreon side. We're going to talk about nationals for most of the stuff, so I only have one new thing to talk about on this side of the show. And that is Jason Bunderson sent me the American Operator gear belt.
He's rebranding. So here is the old concealment belt, and I've used this for a little bit over a year. And so one of the things that it had this very smooth front end, so you could clip. There'd be no belt buckle, no interruption, and then the backside wrapped around and then hooked in like one of the the inner belts. And so one of the things that the older belt had is it had a little bit of lining inside, and you can see it on the camera as that, like, however you laid it or took a bent that day, it would kind of take that bent. And when it was around your body, it would kind of still push out just a hair because of that stiffness, rigidity in there. So the new belt, a couple changes he made to the new belt. On the old belt, it just had 2 slots for you. On the new belt, it's got 3 slots, and one of them's like a pull tab that you can kind of pull through the belt. It's a little bit
slots for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And then it's slightly thicker, but one of the couple things that's changed on it. So it's like thicker, but no inner liner. So it definitely pulls around your body a lot better. The other thing that I noticed, which was a big improvement on it, was the top. On the top is the old belt. There is more of the flat material on the new belt and less of the elastic material on the new belt.
Hmm.
So even though these are both 32-inch waist belts, you can see that there's much more of the flat end to basically go kind of almost around towards your back if you want it, or more to your side, so you have kind of more real estate to work with whatever you're carrying, and it gives you a much more like stable belt hold up feeling than the original one did. The original one's still great, but the American Operator gear belt is like this is like the final perfect product. And like in my opinion too, like with the old Mach 1 belts, like the original Mach 1 belt I had no inner lining, and I love that because when I cinched it down, it just went completely around my waist. Like, and I was wearing two belts. Like, it has rigidity because you're wearing two belts. Like, your pants are being held up, and then that's also being held up very well just by the friction of it holding around your waist and the Velcro. But like this is really, really good. This is a really, really great improvement. So
Cool.
yeah,
I dig it.
yeah,
Like
it's
it.
it's fantastic, and it's pretty. I mean, you can get 8 or 9 inches out of this belt just by adjusting it.
And
then
that's the
so
same thing as the Hunter Constantine belt, correct?
pretty much, yeah, the same ones for the concealment belts. Yep, this is the freaking. It's the jam so far. Like I like the old one. I love that one. That one's a huge improvement. So when I carrying my bougie HKs, it's nice to do it with a bougie belt.
You carry
Bougie-rific.
multiple at the same time.
What was that?
Belts.
You carry multiple at the same time with the
Mul-
HKs.
HKs. Well, yesterday I didn't have a bag and I carried a bunch of handguns, so I was appendix carrying a USP, and then I shoved a P2000 one side of my belt. I was like, oh, you know what? I haven't zeroed that Glock 17, and then I put the 17 behind the USP and threw my shirt over it, and then walked down like that. And so that I technically was I wearing that belt yesterday? No,
You were
because I
prepared. You were
hadn't
just
gotten the mail.
prepared.
It's just prepared. Well, two of those guns were empty.
Why? What's this, like some new Israeli thing you were going for?
Yeah, that's right. It's the unloaded carry. The one hot, two not. That's what I call it. One hot, two not
He's
carry.
giving himself a handicap so that the bad guys actually have a
Mm.
chance.
I-
He's at the stage in his life where he likes to make it a little spicy,
Spi-
so he's like
living
looking out for
dangerously.
hard things.
I take the gun and I slide it across to him and I say, "If you're out, use this." And then they go, "What?" And as soon as they pick it up, I'm like Bruce Willis
You
in
got
Die
a
Hard.
gun.
How stupid do you think I was? You know. Anyways, Jared didn't shoot nationals, so we'll talk to Jared about what he did this week, and then we'll get to nationals with Robert and Kevin. Jared.
I did not do a whole lot. I went and shot some yesterday at Big Salty. Just did a practice session with some friends, and that was fun. And shot a steel match last week at LTD, which was actually surprisingly fun. The steel match is up there. It's kind of like a Barry Steel Open style thing.
Extra steel or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of moving around, but it's fun. And if you have the chance, I'd highly recommend going to their that match is an absolute blast. But yeah, I haven't done a whole lot, and I want to hear about nationals.
Well,
Wait, when do they do that one at LTD? Is it like a
It's a
different
fifth
weekend?
Saturday.
Yeah,
Okay.
anytime there's a fifth Saturday, they do that steel match, and so
That's worth going to then.
oh yeah, especially because we don't have anything else around here on fifth Saturdays. Because Slipsy used to do the fifth Saturday match, but then they kind of got away from it. And I don't know what's going to go on if our 3-gun's going to continue, because I swear, like the last couple 3-guns or 2-guns we've had here, there's like 20, 30 people going to it. And that's not sustainable, in my opinion, for a
Well,
match.
Yeah, that's really funny you say that, because you say 20 to 30 is not sustainable, and yet there are a huge amount of clubs across the country
Yes.
where 30 is like, hot damn, we had a lot of people this weekend. And
We
we're
got-
like, oh
That's-
man, that just feels sucky.
We got
Yeah,
out
it's
of there at
just the slips of-
11:30. My wife was mad.
Signing up for slips is like signing up for a major match. It's like,
Yeah,
"Ah,
seriously,
It
if-
opens
if-
up.
if we're not shooting-
full.
we're
Sorry.
not
Wait,
shooting
how
like
can
a
we
section
squad
match
together?
every
We can't
weekend.
squad together. No one knows what's happening with the squatting. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, no joke.
Robert,
Yeah.
sorry, Jared, did you shoot the new gun still? Are you still shooting that?
Yeah, no, I shot the Voodoo, and the Voodoo's actually been doing really, really well. A couple guys have reached out and talked to me about it, and I actually got the short dust cover, and then I got the aluminum grip because I prefer lighter guns. I really am not that big of a fan of heavy guns, especially
Just
in
mute it,
the
Robert.
weight.
Just mute it, Kevin. Also, hey, dude, you can't say that shit. Kevin's not gonna sell batteries if you say that shit. Just
If here, Kevin, the best place in my opinion for weight is at the nose end of the barrel, right where guide rods go. That's the best place for the weight. I don't like weight in the grip.
You're saying you don't like junk in the trunk.
Exactly.
We've already established that you can shit all over like Kevin's stuff, and people are still going to buy it. Thank you, humble marksman.
So I'm still sold out of it. I literally sold out of batteries again. Like the thing he recommended not to do, I sold out. I bought what typically lasts like a quarter, and I sold out in a year, like the raw materials, right? And I sold out in less than a month again.
Yes.
So I've placed another stocking order, but I expect it to be here in a couple of weeks. So maybe we'll sell out again. So keep buying batteries.
well,
buy that shit.
Batteries in like the Surefire or the Streamlight, if your gun's pitchy, like that deletes pitchy pretty freaking quick. But in the other,
Well, I mean, honestly, it's a great option if you're gonna play around with it, right? Like,
yeah,
'cause there's the lock light that you can get that's like brass. Well, you can play around with that because it's just gonna be junk later, right?
yeah.
If you buy a TLR7 or a X300, you got a good light, right? So, and you can get a holster that's real, right? Like,
correct.
You can get a lock holster, but what do you do with it?
Yep. No, it's the throwing it, like even just putting on a X300 without the batteries puts it on, but you put, what are those, like 5 ounces of batteries that you can get in the front of
3 ounces of batteries, so you're about 9 ounces with a light and the tungsten batteries.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Remember, kids, that's more than half a pound on the front of your gun. Just so yeah, that's it.
And then when you have
it'll
there,
do
it
something.
unbalances it. So then you need to put brass in the back so that it puts it right back.
Yep, that's Robert's big problem in all of life. But yeah, so I've been shooting that Voodoo, and it's been doing great. I actually yesterday I shot it next to an Erebus and an Artemis, Atlas guns, and to be honest with you, I'm not really seeing a difference between those Atlases and this new Voodoo. Like the new Voodoo is really tight and it's great. Sorry,
I think
Kevin,
you said this before. What's the cost difference between those now?
Like double? I mean, the Voodoo's, I think, going for 31, maybe 32. And the Atlases are going for what, 6, 7? And honest to God, like the owner of the Atlas, he shot the Voodoo and looked at me and was like,
sour grapes.
Shit. Well, and then he actually,
it's because he has an entire Pelican case filled with all those guns.
It was not.
It wasn't
Josh.
his? Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
It was Troy. But
well, that's just funny then.
Troy was having fun with it, and then we shot
Troy,
the tactical steel custom.
Sell it to me for a really good price.
He will
sell it to me for half.
He also, I had that tactical steel custom, and he was trying that out, and it was funny because he was shooting that. He's like, "Holy crap, this recoils so well! This is such a great gun." I'm like, "Yeah, and you got to pick everything, and it's also only $3,500, not $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 like those other guns you bought." But it just kind of depends on what you want. The Atlas guns are really cool. They have a good aesthetic. I like the Atlas guns, and they have a really good feel to them. They have the bougie glass. When you rack the slide, you go, oh. But the tactical steel custom, honestly, when you rack that slide, you're just kind of like, okay. But when you shoot it, it shoots like a son of a bitch.
Yep.
And that's the thing. It all just depends on what you guys want. But I really find it hard to pass up on if you're at the stage in your shooting career where you have preferences and you actually know a little bit about like what type of 2011 you want and like, what do you like? Heavy grips? Do you like lighter grips? Do you like a 4.25 barrel, a 4.5 barrel, a 5 barrel, a 6 barrel? Like there's all these different things. And that's the beauty of tactical steel customs is because it's a full custom experience, actually. Like this is your gun. You get to pick every part on that bitch and it's an absolute blast. And that's why I loved that. Well, The Voodoo, I think, is nice just because it's simple and it's easy, and you call them and say, hey, give me the thing, and then they give you the thing, and it's really fun and simple. So it just really depends on what you want, but I just don't see any reason to go that high end Akai Atlas. These fuckers who are charging 7-8 grand for a pistol is just bonkers to me, because
Yeah,
I
well,
think that's all.
I think I
It's
have
just
this.
hype train.
I have this slight pain behind my left eye. It's probably from a rock of crack cocaine that's been stuck up there, Hunter Biden style. But like when $3,000, we start talking about that, and that's the sensible option.
That's the reasonable option.
I remember looking at oh gosh, no, well now hey, guess what, Kevin? Guess what? You're no longer the bougie banger anymore. You're back to the frugal shooter because you didn't spend anywhere. You didn't spend anywhere near that. You just all you had to do to become sensible again was shift divisions. I know. Even that thing is cheap. You're
We need to get
poor.
the Elton John glasses, though. If you're going to be the bougie banger, you need the Elton John shutter glasses.
I mean, this thing,
Benny and the
not
Jets.
glass. It's definitely not glass, that's for sure. But
No, in the
Well,
DWX.
shoot a match, and you're gonna have so much crap, and it's no longer gonna be glass, and then you have to clean it. And you know how much I hate cleaning things.
And realistically,
room.
we all know.
Look at his
that-
underwear.
Realistically, we all know that the gun itself is just a gun. And like guess what? Kevin got third overall or third
master.
right?
master,
That's
33rd
still
overall.
pretty fucking good. And he did it with a poor ass gun, and he beat all these dudes with fancy guns. And guess what? Does the Canic feel like glass? Do you rack the Canic and go oh and make Japanese noises from
No.
the 1540s?
You do when you pull the factory trigger. That factory trigger is pretty freaking
Trigger
nice.
is nice.
The factory trigger's pretty damn nice. But yeah,
guess what? It shoots like a son of a bitch. And so it
Yeah.
just depends on what you want. Do you want to if you want to sit at home and just rack the slide aggressively and go a whole lot, get an Atlas.
yep.
If you want to get good, just practice a lot.
Get a Canic, you pores.
I don't think that does it. My calendar says otherwise.
So yeah, it's fun. Good times. Got to shoot the ported barrel a lot and got to shoot the normal barrel a lot. And man, porting is fun. Holy shit, porting helps a lot. But
And
anyways,
that's the world.
back
Speaking
to you, Tom. Thanks.
speaking back to you in the studio.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, Robert, let's hear it.
I finally got my Langdon. But I sent my the barrel for my Langdon LTT off, and I got it ported because why not? And I was going to go out last night, and then Dakota and I actually started doing a Star Wars marathon because, I mean, why not? That would just be kind of cool.
Which Star Wars?
Well, if we
What type of American?
okay, well, if we can all agree there was only three Star Wars episodes and then a shitload of fan fiction, then we're okay. However, we started with the fan fiction, episode 1. We're working our way through it. So we'll go 1, 2, 3.
Rogue One?
Rogue One,
Yeah.
and then 4, 5, 6, and then finish it up.
I love
7, 8, 9.
when somebody goes through this, they never bring up Solo. Good. And then I have a lot of grace for one, 2, and 3
I watched
nowadays.
Solo, but it didn't really.
No.
I mean, it was fine.
Rogue One's great.
First time, and I just never wanted. Rogue One was arguably this. I would say Rogue One was the best of all of the stuff after
Disney
basically
bought it.
1, 2, and 3.
Rogue
One
One
was
is the
amazing.
best Star Wars I've ever seen in theaters.
Yeah, I think Disney has put out like maybe out of the 90 Star Wars products they put out, they've had like 3 or 4 that are actually the post Disney stuff. Jedi, what is it? Not Jedi Outcast. What is the game?
Jedi Power Battles?
Yeah,
Oh,
Jedi Power Battles is sweet. The one with Kyle Katarn
Force
or whatever.
Unleashed,
Not the
whatever.
Force Unleashed. No, not the Force Unleashed. It's the newer one. What the hell is
Kyle
that called?
Katarn.
Jedi Survivor or something like that. Like
Yeah,
Cal
Jedi Survivor.
Kestis?
Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
The Kyle Kestis games, so those 2 games, they're actually it's good Star Wars. The
Cal Kestis. That's different than Kyle Katarn. Kyle Katarn.
Jedi ask yes, I get it. Jao Katan. Yeah, I remember that. And I remember
Jerry's got a neck beard growing all of a sudden.
and I remember Dash Rendar and Shadows of the Empire and all that shit too. I'm all right. But this yeah, there's a few of those things, but yeah, that's the way to do it. Anything after that, let's just pretend I would rather pretend the Emperor won than pretend that the Force Awakens exists.
So I've had to talk to Lex a lot about this, and I have to when it comes to Force Awakens. So that'd be what episode 7. I have to watch that like now with the memory of how I felt when I first saw it in the theater. And when I first saw it in the theater, when I first saw it in the theater, and Rey takes the Millennium Falcon and is going through the Star Destroyer, I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever," and I was really excited. And then you kind of go back and watch, and you're like, "Wait a damn minute! How did that chick figure out how to fly that thing so well?"
It should have been in the kitchen.
Well, the one thing, this is also the thing I hate. This is because all they had to do to make a lot of those movies better. I love the Jewish people, by the way. How dare you? How dare you? The one thing that I hated, all they had to do is make that thing fantastic, or at least halfway decent, is just have this little hero arc where she sucks, and then she gets better, and then she gets better at things. Like, you guys remember Luke getting the absolute shit kicked out of him? Do you remember when he was not some all-powerful guy who was like, I'm going to go fight Darth Vader, and I'm going to save my friends, and then the bitch came back crippled? Do you remember that?
That's the funny thing, though, Tommy, because in 789, from my opinion, 789, the hero journey, I mean, that arc was Kylo Ren. I mean, Kylo Ren was like the single most like compelling and interesting character. I loved every time he was on screen because it made you, you cared about him.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
I mean, Kylo Ren, you legitimately cared about. Everybody else was just like,
Ben Swallow.
I don't really care.
I don't know. They could have done like both of those arcs at the same time. It would have been fine. But the one thing is that Disney loves to do is like woman character. She's got it from the beginning. She's got it from the beginning.
The Cartman South Park, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
Make it a lesbian and make it lame.
Exactly.
Cartman just kept on screaming that. No, make it stupid, make it lame, make it gay.
Make it gay.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I've never seen a studio drive an entire franchise into the dirt as hard as Kathleen Kennedy has done.
Joe Biden.
That's true.
Touche.
Lies. That's not what the news tells me. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's
great. I think the funniest thing about that whole Biden thing is for the past like 3 years, everybody's been telling us that no, he's fine. He's the smartest guy in the world. They had that debate and they're like, well, shit.
Well, hell.
Shit. How are we going to spin this one? We can't. Well, maybe it's time to replace him. Who are we going to replace him with?
Well, the other part is a lot of the money's tied up in the campaign for the Biden-Harris campaign, so they have to go with Kamala Harris. And New York Post had a poll out. Kamala Harris is underwater to Donald Trump 6 more points than Joe Biden is. That's how unlikable Kamala Harris is. Anyways, Ported Barrel, you got it. It's back. Have you shot it?
Nope. I'm going out tomorrow night. I'm very, very excited because I think it's going to be absolutely fun.
Yep.
And I think this gun just lends itself to being ported. I mean, the barrels, it's all open.
Yeah.
And
yep.
Is it going to make you want to shoot IDPA because you can shoot that in a division there, right?
I know, right?
No, I don't know.
It's not that
no,
yeah, but at the same time, like, wouldn't that be fun? I could shoot the ported voodoo priest. Sorry, I'm like 3 shots of tequila down, boys.
Cold. Did you get back from international travel 12 days ago?
Nope. So you could shoot a ported voodoo priest in IDPA carry optics, and you're just like, what?
Robert, you don't have to go and actually.
Well, here's
shoot USPSA with it. Shoot open.
Arguably, I could just shoot USPSA and
shoot open.
Fun.
Just shoot open. Have fun.
Here's the
function. I mean, functionally, let's be honest. My season's over, which is really weird to think about.
Be a big dick and make it instead of a 92, make it a 93. Do a full auto trigger in that thing.
3-round burst. 93s were not full auto. 3-round burst. Anyways, I had a joke, but the time has passed.
But no, we did that. Then I got my I had 2 slides. I had 2 slides cut by Josh, and I got those back. So now I have my 10mm. Really excited about that.
So that's the gun you should have sent off to be ported. There is extra gas in that one.
I guess I could at some point. I should talk to Josh.
It's threaded, right?
This one's threaded, so I could put a comp on
Just
it.
put a comp on it.
I could do that.
Put a
But
suppressor on it, so then
it
it's
fits
like
in- it
14
fits in my,
feet long.
Right? This thing actually fits in my G34 holsters, so I still think that's probably the coolest thing about the Glock 41 gun, is that it just fits in there. And then since I had another slide lying around, I had him cut another slide.
Jesus Christ, Robert.
Well, okay, some people
I hope
are
for
sitting-
your sake, Andrea doesn't watch this.
She does. She doesn't care.
She knows.
Yeah. I mean,
She's finding out about all these thousands of dollars of purchases and things.
Listen, optic cuts are cheap. Robert just found that slide somewhere. He's like, "Is this mine?
Is this
I'm gonna get
mine?"
cut for an optic."
Because we didn't just talk about how Tom's optic cuts are $250 to $500.
yeah,
Yeah,
Josh,
Robert's are
Josh
100 or
charges
something like that.
Josh charges $60.
He's got material on the top of his.
Good job.
He's got
So I
material
kinda
on the slide to
taking-
cut.
Sending things to Josh, and for this rare moment in history, I actually have more optics laying around than guns. So why not put optics
That's a
on
problem
I just-
that needs
obsolete
rectified.
obsolete guns?
You'd
Well-
be losing money if you didn't.
If you
do that.
didn't,
That's exactly
yeah.
how I feel about this.
well, this
Yeah,
is
that's a
how you know
fact.
the carry optics. The optics on handguns is completely past everything. Remember when we had all these guns and we had like one or two optics, and then it was just like now we have more optics than we have handguns to put them on.
Yeah, I mean, geez, like I'm just looking around and I've got one, two. Yeah, I got two optics just sitting in boxes that I have three that I haven't
Huh.
pulled out yet.
Where'd that one
So-
come from?
I mean,
What?
I think I'm kind of on the train that optics are the future, and iron sights are going to get to a point where people look at them in the same way that people with a digital camera looks at an old analog camera. Yeah, I remember how simple those iron sights were, and man, you really had to pay attention to what you were going to get and really look hard to make sure that you were getting the sights lined up. Like, no, Grandpa. Put
Yep.
the dotty thingy on the target and pull the trigger.
Yell, yeet, dab, and then run away.
I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of optics, Robert, I heard you shot a match with optics.
Yeah, how
Oh,
was
fine,
that?
fine, Kevin. We'll get to the Nationals talk. Gosh
Well,
damn,
not well.
Kevin wants to talk about how good he does. Do you want to go first, Kevin, or should we let Robert?
No, go, Robert. I'm
No,
curious,
no, no,
Robert.
I know, I-
interpretation.
I-
You're
I
already
want-
talking.
Nationals. Let's talk about it. Robert, when did you guys get in?
Let's see. We flew in on Wednesday. Got in about 6 o'clock. Kevin got there at 11:30
11 o'clock,
ish.
yeah.
And
Where was Nationals this year?
Marengo.
Marengo, Ohio.
Is it
Columbus.
Marengo,
I don't know how you say it.
Ohio?
About 30 minutes north of Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah,
Was
really
it
nice.
nice?
It's good. It's actually a good location.
The location's good. The range surface sucks, but the location's fantastic.
Mm.
But it was good. I mean, there was 20 stages, I guess. Of they were fantastic stages. I really enjoyed the stages a lot. I mean, challenging stuff, go fast, technical stuff, things that really made you actually aim a bit. And
I saw lots of mini poppers in the videos that I was seeing. Transitions and mini poppers in between a lot of targets.
there was that, and there was a lot of far no shoot partials
yeah.
that were really challenging. The field was stacked. I mean, I think like at the 100th place, people were within 80% of the match winner.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there was 30, 70 something GMs.
Wow.
and so
And you beat half of them. Suck it, GMs.
That's right. I'm not a sandbagger, so it's just bad luck on classifiers apparently.
but it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. We got a squad with Grafel and
Who won the match? Who won carry optics?
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna say I love the fact that Grafel came in and handed everybody their lunch. I think that was beyond amazing. He is so good. And I kind of walked away from this match, and we were talking a little bit, but I've got this idea in my head that IPSC teaches you how to be a great USPSA shooter in the same way that USPSA teaches you how to be a great IDPA shooter.
I
And-
like to look at it as the Borat character looking down on Ricky
yes.
Bobby.
Ricky
Coming
Bobby.
down from F1 and being like, "Oh, what is this, Ricky Bobby?" Ricky Bobby is Christian Sailor, and Borat is 100% Eric Graffel, and he just demolished everyone. It makes me really laugh and just
The absolute coolest
Wow.
thing about sitting there and being on that squad and watching it is Graffel doesn't seem fast. He's not flashy.
No,
He just goes along and
he's
he
not.
just
I would actually
collects
say
points.
he's not fast, right? Like,
Yeah.
just he's. So I guess diving into some of my assessment.
because you
of
both shot
that.
with him on his
Yeah,
squad,
yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
I mean, so
that
Eric
must have been
Graffel,
fun.
Etzel Gino,
Mhm.
Martin Kamenicek, is that how you say it?
Kamenicek.
Kamenicek,
Yeah.
Shane Cooley, JJ Rakaza, we're all on our squad, right?
Mhm.
So we had, proper elite shooters on the squad to watch.
Oh, and
Yeah.
Eric Steiner.
Elite shooters is what I was talking about. I don't know if
Elite shooters.
he doesn't listen.
Also
To this podcast.
also starring Eric Steiner.
But
Womp womp.
so there's a Team CZ had a drastically different style than the American style, and it was really interesting to see. I would say it kind of boils down to me, they shoot clinically is what I would maybe say, right? There's no chaos, right? Like, I saw a few stages where Gino brought in a little chaos, but it was intentional. Like, I think he was playing with his food a little bit, right? But Eric and Martin, they just went and collected points. Not flashy, clean, consistent runs. But the biggest takeaway I had from the match, and I've posted some of this on Instagram, is I saw those guys take almost no shots on the move whatsoever. This match had some technical aspects where you needed to take those long shots, and so moving didn't make sense in a lot of places. But even some of the places where, in my head it made sense, they didn't do it. And I mean, I don't know. It's viable, but what they had was wicked transitions, like clean transitions, right? Their points were so high,
Well,
and then
Yeah,
just
Eric didn't have
no
any
hesitation.
D's, M's, no
He
shoots.
did not
It was
have
all
a
A's and
single
C's.
delta. He did not have a single mic or a
Mhm.
single no shoot.
Well, like
very impressive, and it's worth playing around with. Like, I want to evaluate some in my practice just to see, because I've been taking a lot more shooting on the move, and I think it works okay, right? But it's definitely not high points.
Kenny was right.
And if you can collect the points and then have no hesitation to leave, right? Then maybe clearly those guys from Team CZ just came and kicked our teeth in. So our style can't be the only way. And it's worth some evaluation, I think, on my side.
Well,
for
if
sure.
you follow Graffel on like Instagram and actually sit there and like read some of the stuff that he's sitting there and while he's posting, he talks a lot about it. And he did some class where he had like a lot of like high end guys who were like trying to learn what it took to be like to win nationals or something like that. And there was a part of that video where he literally talks about crossing on something on some open shots or whatever like that. And he's just like, everyone's kind of just flowing through it, trying to flow through it, get on, and he's posting, shooting, very like posting up, shooting, and then making the movement. And he's just like he just compares the points. Here are the points, and it's one of the things that every once in a while I'll talk to shooters about. Is just like, if you're 10% behind the guy that you want to beat, and you're collecting 88% of his points, do you think you should go faster?
Yes.
I mean, like eventually, I know we all love it, but like eventually the other half of the score has to come along.
Yep.
You can't leave 6 points, 60% of the points on a target. You cannot leave 40% of the points behind a target. You cannot leave 30% of the points behind a target.
Well, so what's interesting is normally at these matches, honestly, if you look at the time for first place, second place, third, etc., almost at all the other matches, it's always whoever shot the match fastest wins.
Mhm.
That's how it is at like the majority of USPSA matches, whether the locals or majors. It's if you shoot fastest, you will win. But this match was one of the few where like Graffel shot it in 3:08, Second place shot it in 298. Third place shot it in 307. Fourth place shot it the fastest with a 297. But the difference is like what Tom was talking about. Hetherington, who shot it the fastest out of anybody at 297, he only shot 89% of the points, where Grafel shot 92, 93%. And that's nuts, especially when you start looking at it and you're like, wait, Grafel shot 40 more alphas than Hetherington. 40 in minor scoring, that's a lot of goddamn alphas, and that's a lot of fucking points.
Well, if you look at the time, if the time is Hetherington got him by 3% in time, but Grafel has him in
15% points,
but has him on 4% in points.
Right.
Yeah. It was interesting. So like, obviously I knew of Grafel before. I have never like followed it. Like I've seen some of his Instagram videos and stuff, but I've never like looked into his teachings or anything like that before. And like in the match, I'm like gathering my assessment, going, okay, I'm noticing this, I'm seeing this, and kind of in my head I have these notes. Then afterwards I go watch his videos, like, oh, those are the things he teaches. That makes sense, right? Like, but it was kind of cool to say, this is what I'm observing. This is actually what he teaches, to know that, oh, I made that connection, right? Like I saw what I saw, and that's what he does. So anyways, that was very interesting for me from like a exposure to something different perspective that I think why it strikes me more than maybe others is that I'm not, it's unintuitive for me to go fast, right? And I'm not saying that he's not fast at all, right? Like efficiency is more what I would say. And so I think it's worth playing with, at least for myself, because I'm not the kind of burn it down kind of guy. I don't think it takes a lot off for me to try and get those points more. So I'm going to be playing around with that as I switch over to LO and see if it makes sense in practice and whatnot. So I'm excited for that. Robert, you didn't perform that poorly at Nationals, right? You had fun.
I had fun. That's all that matters. No, scrolling.
From the match perspective, from last year, so I shot Nats last year, same location. Last year the stages weren't great from the perspective of they had shooting challenges that were uncontrollable. And what I mean is like they had fast swingers that were like tuxedos, right? And when you go and you see the best shooters just send 3 because who the heck knows what's going to happen.
You're just rolling dice.
That's not a shooting challenge. That's just
right.
Like you're not challenging anybody. And so this year the stages were super fun, I thought, right? Like fun, but also extremely challenging shots, right? Like you had to be able to, make accurate hits at a long range and call it, and, be able to change up between those stages. But then they were fun to run. Many stages had great options to it as well. So like you could make a plan. And that was one of the things that, shooting with those top guys, and you come up and you're like, I don't like that stage plan. And you're like, am I dumb? Like, should I not do this? But there's a few stages where like I shot my plan different from the entire squad. And, I think biggest option was like stage 13 or something like that, where
that's a bold move to shoot a different squad when you're with those motherfuckers. And like, Kevin's like, I think you guys are wrong.
I don't think so. I think
that's a bold move.
I've seen Kevin shoot enough to know. I've seen Kevin shoot enough just to know that he figures out a plan that works for his strengths, and then he just sits there and he just dials it in. And I mean, anytime you run, you can run a stage or a plan that's just 100% in that regard, you're going to do well.
Agreed. But it is something to be like, I'm sitting there with my plan. I'm like, I just don't like that plan they're doing, but these guys are not slubs, right? Like, should I change my plan?
Like these guys are like, who are like
a clue, Kevin?
Well, this is why you're a successful person, Kevin, because you don't look at the hyper successful and go like, what the fuck do those guys know? The other, I was like, what are they doing? The one thing that always impresses me every time I've seen Grafel once in person, but when you see him online, you're just like, oh, like he's like what you're supposed to be like as an athlete when you're trying to like crush everybody. You're like, he's incredibly in shape. He's well trained. He's in his mid 40s. He doesn't go outside the bounds. He's highly disciplined, and like he plays a game and does not really kind of like, he looks at what everyone else is doing as the fad and he goes just like, nope, like haven't done that. I remember watching videos of him doing weak-handed reloads,
Oh, that
like
was cool.
like shooting, weekend only, and then making the reloads like if he had to on a classifier, and it's just like, okay, like this guy's a machine.
Yeah, that's actually I started practicing that one from when I saw it. So doing the drop the mag with your index finger, reload with your other hand. It's way faster, right? But if you
Yep.
don't practice it, you're never going to be able to do it. So I throw that in my practice now, and it's a very viable option if you've got some experience doing it. But it's things like that set him apart, I think, on those matches.
Yep. And then when you give him big old USPSA standard targets,
Actually, it was all IPSC.
Was it all IPSC this whole match?
100%
No
IPSC.
kidding.
Yeah, there was a
really
lot of
planned for
people that
rain.
were upset about that, which I think was kind of funny.
I don't like. I mean, IPSC targets I get, and they're fine, but in general, I prefer a little bit of the martial aspect of the sport. So I like humanoid
Correct.
targets.
I like that too.
You raise
like
their
shit
hands
at
up
some
and
guys.
say, "Don't shoot me," and then you shoot.
That's why I
them.
also don't like swingers that can go Mach 3. It's just like, what the hell are we like? We're here to shoot things. Like, people don't move this fast. Let's not have these
Zombies
guys.
from 28 Days Later. Run.
I don't know the whole ins and outs of why it ended up being IPSC. I mean, I remember somebody telling me at one point, but from a standpoint, if you think it's going to rain, an IPSC target is
Yes.
vastly superior than the USPSA target.
That's
not
fair.
even
That's
in
fair.
the same
In fact,
ballpark,
rain.
and
So-
it did. And so, and we actually lucked out because
We got so good.
it was supposed to rain like the second day, and the only time we got rain was on our last stage right before we started it. It rained for 15 minutes, kind of a cloudburst, and then they had us on what do they call that, like a lightning pause or
Lightning
something?
stop or something like that. Yeah.
Lightning stop.
Well, everyone's
And so
got
it dried
rods in
out
their
enough,
hands.
and it was great. And so it was
Neil? Good.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, as far as the hardest thing about that range is the gravel that they put down it's on some kind of a hard pan, and there was a lot of people falling.
It wasn't like
really?
that last
Oh.
year. Right? So the material, I think what happened is they put down like gravel, right? Like, I don't know what, it's some sort of like slag almost, but it's really smooth. But I think so last year,
It's that right there.
It's not like
Yeah,
the
so,
volcano
like-
stuff.
no, it's not
I don't
so
know
jagged,
what
right?
I don't
Like,
know
it
what
doesn't
this stuff
compact
is,
together.
but it's jagged, and it is very round. And so if you hit it wrong, especially
That's
considering
rock.
It's like riverbed gravel.
well, it's
Almost.
but but the surface itself is, I mean, it is so hard. There was actually one of the stages. It was the stage that we shot the 40-yard open from, where it actually looked like potholes in the ground. I mean, it was I mean, like surface, and it was just like crunched out of it. It was crazy.
I think the whatever submaterial they put down, like, compacted over the last year
Mhm.
and turned basically into just rock, like flat, smooth rock. And then you have not enough gravel on top that it like thins out and turns into like marbles, right? So, we had one fall on our squad. We had two like almost falls, like, very apparent that they almost fell down, caught themselves. I think
Jalise fell hard.
I know a bunch of people fell, right? Like, it's an issue.
Didn't
they
Robert
need to
fall?
solve.
Robert fell. Robert's it hurt.
That didn't have anything to do
But
with
that
the
had
crap.
nothing to do with the match.
That was just drunk driving.
That was drunk driving. Stupid Batista.
Robert thought he could fly. Turns out he can't.
Turns out I cannot. But
Falling.
actually,
with
it's funny.
style.
It's funny. The thing
No,
that
there
I
wasn't
actually it was there's no style in it.
He farted when he hit the ground. You guys should have heard it.
They bounced though.
Yeah, it's fine. It's finally getting better. No, it's funny. The thing I actually liked the most about the match, I love the stages. I thought Matt Hopkins did all the stages, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. The stages, from what everybody I've heard said, the stages were far and above better than what you've seen at a nationals in a long time. And so Hopkins deserves all the credit. The thing I liked the most was actually the thing that I did the worst at was the far partials. And a lot of that's just because I've gone out and like I have this is funny. So I was asking Coley, I was like, what's your 0? And he says 12 for this reason. I was like, cool. And we're riding in the little golf cart together, and Graffel's like, not to say anything, but mine's at 25. Like,
I ain't no bitch.
yeah, right. And so, but no, it's like I 0 at 12 because I like it and I can see it. And I've gone out and I've confirmed at 25. I've never actually like gone all the way over to what it would be our rifle bays and actually push it out to 30, 35, 40,
Well,
things like that.
the one thing with
And that would have been really nice to know.
the one thing about zeroing at 25, the horizontal deviation, you start actually seeing that a lot more than you do at the 12. So like everyone's kind of like thinking about the vertical, but the horizontal deviation, you get to see a little bit more like that. Because if we
Right.
think 1 or 2 inches high or low, we're like, it's 1 or 2 inches high or low, baby.
Well,
Don't
here's
worry.
the thing.
But you see 1 or
at-
2 inches left or right at 25, you go like, oh, like I don't want none of that. But like zeroing at 25, it takes a rest. It takes good lighting. It takes stability not only on your end but on the target's end, because if you're out there and the wind's blowing around that target and that target's kind of rocking back and forth, like it's harder to tell. But it is a truer zero.
Well, here's the thing. I actually don't think your zero matters. If you zero at 12, I mean, Jared and I talked about this a little bit. I mean, like if you have it like at 5 yards, maybe it matters. But like the thing that really matters is where's the bullet hitting at each one of these distances. I mean, if you
Yes.
zero at 12, because that's what you can see, but then you actually take the time and say, what does it look like at 25, 30, 35, 40, so that you know.
The confirmation of
that's
what
great.
it is. Yep.
I mean, if all you ever do is zero at 12 yards and be like, this is good because that's all we ever do in USPSA, and you never leg it out there, then when you actually have some cool stages like what Hopkins built, and you're like, oh, that's at 40 yards. Our bays aren't even remotely that deep.
Well,
Then you're just like, oh boy.
There's people who are like the red dot instructors that would tell their students, hey, go ahead and just standing zero your red dot at 10 yards and like let it rip.
Right. Well, and that's actually I get in fights with cops about zeros because I'm kind of the opinion where, like what Robert was saying, honestly, it doesn't matter if you zero it at 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 or 30, but really what matters is that it's actually fucking zeroed. Because that's the problem.
It is, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. And that's the problem though with a 10-yard zero is that I see it happen all the time at work. Is these guys will go and they'll zero at 10 yards. They're like, oh yeah, my gun's zeroed. It's so great, right? And then we shoot at the 25 as part of our qual, and like their little group was just like, wah, off either left or off and right. And so it's not them just jerking the trigger, and they're like, oh, well, and you're like that because your gun actually isn't zeroed at 10 yards. Like, do you know how many clicks it takes to move it even a quarter of an inch at 10 yards? It's still multiple. It's a lot of clicks.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that's the thing that people don't understand. It's like, no, this is a lot of movement, and there's a lot of differences there. And so, like, yeah, whether you're zeroing at 10 or 12, 14, 15, 20, 25, the big thing is actually shooting at a farther away stuff and seeing if it actually is there horizontally, or not so much laterally, but horizontally is really the important part, because they can really all of a sudden just start deviating and you're like, oh.
Well, that's
Yeah.
all. I mean, so I zero at 15, and then, but I always go back to 25 and shoot it, right, to confirm zero. And like when I was confirming for Nats, both guns, took them out, zeroed at 15, went back to 25, and they were, an inch right or whatever, I can't remember, something like that, right?
And it's
like,
just one
dial it over, go back
couple
to 15,
more clicks.
it's still on, but
Yeah.
it wasn't on, right? Like it was not dialed in as accurately as you want it for long shots. And
Yep.
if you're not checking that, you don't know, right? Like, well, it's that horizontal deviation that's going to bite you big time because you're not even thinking about it, right? Like you're just
the one thing that's easy to do, like if you're at the indoor range, like I would zero at 15, 12 or 15, I'd put it back at 25 and then make my final adjustments at the 25.
Yeah.
And the other thing, like when and that is because I want, like, everything closer is always more forgiving. Like there's almost no universal truths in practical shooting, but when it's closer, it's much more forgiving. When it's a tighter shot at 25 yards, I would rather have the 25-yard zero. Just like when you have rifle optics and everything else on there, like you want to know that it's pinpoint as close as you can get it at those ranges, and then because everything's built off that. Handguns are a little different because they don't really extend past that. But the one thing is, like, make sure it's there because the inside stuff is forgiving. And if I need to hit a head box at 25 yards, I want that bullet to go where that dot is at 25 yards. Like, I don't want to think about it.
And that's what, I mean, so some of those shots, it was like what, top third of the IPSC target with a no shoot below it at 35 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Well, the other part too
It's-
is like, think of a mini popper at 20 yards. Like, what
Yeah.
do you want to think high or
Right,
low,
it's a small target.
or you
Yeah.
just go like, I would just want to put the dot on it, and it's just, it's like case gauging ammo. It's like just case gauge it, set it, mark it, and then like you're set, because there's never a time where everyone said I zeroed at 25 yards and it fucked me.
Right.
How did you?
Well,
guys'
and realistically,
guns
most
do?
of the
Did
guys,
you guys have any issues with guns? Zero.
No, mine it ran fine. I was super stressed out because I
Right,
sent.
you were worried.
Yeah, I had chronoed all these bullets with this one barrel, and then the barrel went to shit. But I sent them, and so I was just like, I gotta go. I took 300 with me, and for like Thursday about 11 o'clock or whatever, we got to the range, and everybody's like goes to start walking stages, and I'm like, I'm gonna go find Chrono. And I walk over to Chrono, and I was like, can you guys just do a courtesy? And they were super gracious. They
What
really
chronos were they running?
were. They actually had 3. It was 2 lab radars and a Garmin.
Okay.
There's
curious.
there's no bigger disparity in setup and size than the lab
The
radar and the
lab
Garmin.
versus here's
I
how
just
much
saw-
I noticed. I didn't even notice the Garmin. I just noticed the giant lab radars there. I didn't realize they had a third one going.
Well, you
Yeah,
don't even
oh,
notice
I
the
sat and-
Garmin.
I knew the guys at Chrono, and so I sat and talked to them a little bit.
Gave
They
him some
they
cash.
That's how he passed Chrono.
no, it was funny because like they sent 3 across it, and they were consistent. I mean, just consistent within like it was like 4 points of each other. And then when I actually went back for realsies, it was the same thing, all 133 power factor. So it was perfect.
Nice.
But
You know,
I mean, it's just
I shot certified ammo. That was low
Ooh.
stress. Very low
That
stress.
is
Yeah.
such an interesting idea that they introduced that, the whole certified ammo thing, where it's like it doesn't matter what it actually goes, it's because God says it's good.
And for
And
the
they
fact
paid
that
their-
it was
they paid their
139
money.
power factor too, so it was fine. But actually, so I shot Ely 124. That's got to be the cleanest load I've ever shot. I don't know what powder they use, but like at the end of the day, it was like there was no carbon on my feed ramps or anything, right? So, and it shot 139, but it didn't fill 139. It was interesting. So I don't know what powder they're using, but it was great.
The one
Do you
thing
think a lot of
Go
do you
ahead.
think a lot of people are going to be going over to that certified ammo now, or no? Are people
It's
still
still
just
pretty
running?
spendy, right?
It's
So I think
spendy.
it was like 40 cents a round or something like that to the match. I was out of town, and so couldn't ship my ammo when they sent the address, and so I'm like, they were offering free shipping to the match. I knew it worked, so I had ordered some just to see, and knew it worked, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm spending $3,000 or whatever to get there and flights and everything. I'm like, it's like $100 more. I'm just gonna do it. So so what, like Excalibur ammunition is out there, and they're about 36 cents a round for factory new, right? And it's certified. I don't know what I think Outdoor Dynamics, they have certified ammo now, but I don't know what their cost per round is either. It might be a little cheaper because I think they do reman. So you might see a little more, but I don't know. It's a nice aspect, right? Especially when they're doing free shipping, because once you factor in additional shipment,
Right.
it's what, like, I don't know how much it was to ship this year, but last year I paid way too much because FedEx is stupid.
yeah, it
But-
was $20 to ship, $19 and change to ship 800 rounds. When I sent
Yeah,
it,
I think last year I
So-
paid like 60 because I don't know, UPS wouldn't accept it, and FedEx, I don't know.
Did you go?
You told them what was in it?
I don't. Did you go to a UPS store or did you go to the hub?
So they don't have the hub up here. It's just a store you can go to. It's not open to the public
Oh.
here anymore in Logan, and so FedEx was the
That's some bad
The hub.
neighbor shit. That's too many people going in there and screaming that they want their iPhone. Like, man, we
All
don't
I
have
know
it.
is I had to call Tommy up and just ask him because I never, like, every single time I do it, I never remember. And Tommy's always super sweet about it. He's like, just do this, and I'm like, okay.
I just called
Took it
Janice.
in.
Janice, like, what's the new policy? Because every 2 years the shit changes. It seems
Yeah.
like so. Yep.
And it's great. And I mean, it worked. I had a great time. But I think I don't. You never know what goes on behind the scenes. But this is actually probably the best nationals I've attended.
Oh.
In a
It was-
long
it was
time.
good.
It was really, really well run. Everything
Stage
just
so
seemed
flow was great, right? Like
It
we had
was.
like a 5-person backup on one squad, I think, and I don't even know what caused it, but
Yeah. And
the
I
rest
think
of
I on that one, I think it was just because we were going from kind of a quicker stage to a longer reset stage,
yeah.
and that was it. But all the stage staff ran. They did a great job. They were all efficient.
Well, they had set up stuff like, they had those long papers, and it was like, hey, you guys aren't resetting that. We have a staff person who goes out there, he scores it, and
We have a
pastes it.
child.
Don't walk
Mhm.
out there, right? And so that really sped things up, right? On those stages where you had that, extra reset that was super far. They said, we're doing it. Don't do it. You pace the rest of them. We'll get these.
Right. But I mean, gosh, this was what Yi Min Lin's. It was his first nationals that he did, and
As Respawn president,
as the Respawn president. Actually, I think it was actually the first one it's ever been his, and I know he subcontracted it out to he had Todd Holmes be the match director, assistant match director guy, and there was, like Marcel was doing stats, and Matt Hopkins obviously did stages. And so it sounds like what they ended up doing was they gave a lot more power to the range masters to pick the people that were going to work inside of their zones, and it whatever they did, do more of it, basically. Because I thought it was actually really, really well done, and I'm pretty damn happy about it. And so
that's impressive.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I'd like to see more of that. But I got to see Moisha. Moisha actually lives there. He listens to the show. It was so cool to have him come, because in the process of falling off that golf court, and I ruined my camera, and thanks to him, I'm now going to get it fixed, because Moisha owns really cool camera supply store in Ohio. So, but that was super fun to see him.
That's nice.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to skip the questions today. The show's getting a little long, but let's talk about the future here. Kevin's coming out of he's moving to limited optics. Robert's probably going to stay in CO.
I just have to say this because I shot really well. I got
You did.
third.
Yeah.
Master, 33rd overall.
You did really, really good.
At like 87%. Yeah. Well, at some point I'll get a trophy, I think, but they didn't hand them out, right?
So they just had you holding a.
Yeah, it'll be like that size.
We'll take that back. Thank you.
Yeah.
Those sons of bitches.
33rd overall, and I think I didn't count all of them. I just counted until most of them were off. But I beat like 46 other GMs, in there, and I shot super consistent, right? So end of day 3, second half of day 3, I was fatigued, right? Like I noticed mentally, like I was like, oh, I'm tired, right? Like not like muscle fatigue, just mental fatigue from stage planning and stuff.
You're toast. So you're mental.
I had
toast.
a couple of like, not mental. It was just like visually, I wasn't seeing quickly enough, and so I had some mics that I were just driving off target too fast that had a couple issues on. But even still, like I go back and I'm like, well, what if I didn't get these misses? Does it make a difference? Yeah, one place. So I shot really well, and it's like, dang it, I want to be better. Right. But it's like, oh, we had the best people in the world here. Okay, well, I guess I'm not that good yet.
Well, what makes me happy is there's a lot of people on Instagram who like to run their mouths, and there's these other people, like I've been going and looking at all the results and going through and just looking at folk, and it makes me happy to see that you beat a shit ton of people who think that they're the God's gift to the world on Instagram. And good job, Kevin.
Absolutely.
Trying again next year. So better.
Good job, Kevin. Good job. I love that Jared just goes like, all right, let's go through the shit list. Who'd my boy beat? This guy, this guy, this guy.
Fuck this guy, fuck this guy.
Yeah, it feels good when you look at the list. You're like, oh, I beat that guy.
Well, it's also fun. It's also fun because we actually get to compete against you guys. And so, like, I've shot often against Kevin, and I kind of know how my skills fall against his, and it's kind of fun because that's what I do on like the area matches, because I don't like going to these big major matches, but it's fun. Be like, oh hey, okay, so Kevin got 33rd, so realistically I probably would have gotten obviously worse than that, but it like kind of gives you a ballpark. You're like, okay, this guy got this guy got this. Okay, that means I probably would be in the 60s. I don't know, 70s, whatever. But it's just kind of it's fun to look. And then
that was a cool aspect. Not only shooting that match with those guys, right? Like with Graffel and Jay. So to be fair, I've been kind of a fanboy of JJ for a while. I'm not like outwardly about it, but I've wanted to take a class and stuff from him because I think I could learn something. Seeing him shoot, I still think that's the case. But being able to shoot with him and then gauge where your score's at, you're like, okay, well, that was a big takeaway for me. As I watched Eric and those guys shoot, I'm like, oh, that's not out of reach, right? Like, that may sound arrogant, but like, I'm not as good as I could be, right? And so, like,
But if you put off 1 second on every single one of those stages, there are what, 20 stages?
20 stages.
So if you cleaned up a second off every single one of those stages, you would have been within a second or two of Graffel's time.
Right. And if I look at a stage, I can find a second, right? Like, it's not, I'm not going, well, where is this time coming from? It's like, oh, okay, it's there, it's this, so it's like, oh, that's not out of reach, right? Like,
right.
At least to improve, right? So that's the goal. Keep improving.
Yep. You can do it.
Find a second or find 10 more points per stage.
That's right. Or both.
Let's do both.
Or kill the 32 people in front of you.
Last Boy Scout style. The other, what was it? The other thing I saw was interesting was the time lapse or the ghost runs, of which you had on some of those stages where they showed like the fastest shooter and showed the other people where they were. Like, that was like, good job, people. Cool. That was freaking awesome. That was a great way of doing it.
Yeah, Tactical Hive's going to have some more of those. Shooting USA had some of those too. Up, I'm sure that'll come out later when they do their stuff. But I'm trying to get some more of specifically Martin's runs, because he shoots like me a little bit, right? He moves like me because he's like a little bit bigger guy, and so I want to do some comparison and see, okay, like, where's the time coming from in these stages, and use that as a training tool. So I'm going to try and get some of those more. And maybe I'll post. We'll see. I don't know. Tactical Hive will be posting a bunch more of that stuff too, I think. So
awesome.
It's cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for doing everything that you guys do for us. And for that, we're not going to answer a damn one of your guys' questions today. So you can do the Patreon, you give us $1, get a longer version of the show, all that jazz. So for Robert Wyatt and Jared Stepp and Kevin Isaac, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and souls. We depart into the open waters. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. I'm sorry about this. W74 Guide Rods, promo code PARA10, save 10%. Rune Tactical, same promo code, get an extra bullet. And
Dominate Defense.
American Operator Gear / Dominate Defense, whatever one you want to go find out, go ahead and give them the best belt. You'll get the best belt in the industry. Concealment or competition, use promo code PARA10. And we resume our outro. On the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little tugboat, we like to call the PARAcast.
Good night, everybody.
Doot doot.
Toodles.